Hi, welcome. It's a bit of a different video. So I'm doing a voiceover. This is a sped up footage of me doing some in Blender. If you're unfamiliar, Blender is a 3D software, 3D modeling, animation, sculpting, whatever. It does everything software. And so what I'm doing, I just thought I'd do a bit of a different video. I'm making a fluid simulation. I just think these things are kind of fun, and so I went ahead and made just a little something. It's not very good. I mean, you'll see it at the end. It's okay. But so I just thought I'd show the process, because I think these things can be kind of interesting. I'm by no means an expert. In fact, I'm pretty bad, and I frequently go to Google. This footage is sped up by 4 times, but you can see it's still very slow and pretty easy to follow because I'm just bad and slow. I don't know where a lot of things in the menu are. That's because there was just a big update to Blender recently. A lot of things got moved around. A lot of like little icons got changed. Anyways, so what you're seeing is I'm making kind of the ground for what will be a fluid simulation. I'm just kind of messing around with all sorts of different settings. So this blue thing, or sorry, it's not even blue, this pink thing is like on top of that will be fluid. It'll like all pour down and then, you know, just kind of be fluidy. And what's the word? Is there even a word for like fluid just moving around? Fluiding. That's the best I can come up with. Anyways, I thought it would be cool if this like little like simulation, you're gonna be able to see like the edges of it. So it's not very realistic, but you're gonna be able to see the edges of it, and it's kind of like floating above this like reflective blue plane. And so I thought that would look kind of cool. Here I'm just rendering like a little thing to see how it looks so far. And okay, actually, I hit the render button there. I went to make a sandwich. That was me making lunch. And I guess I'm back from lunch. Okay. So this object here is going to be the domain for the fluid. That's essentially the boundary. The fluid can't go outside of that. And when you bake the simulation, which basically is just when the computer like computes the simulation, it's called baking, it occurs inside of the domain, and the domain actually takes the shape of the fluid itself. And so I thought it would be kind of neat to have the fluid be like a shiny gold. I don't think I ended up going with that towards the end. I think I changed it. I just kind of think like, you know, like pastel-y blue and pink, and then like shiny gold go nice together. I don't know. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here, but I'm taking my sweet time making a sphere. Oh yeah, okay, so this sphere, I did this a couple days ago, so, you know, I'm just watching it back. I'm getting it as you are. This sphere is going to be the inflow. Fluid is going to come out of that. I'm not sure if I had this idea at the start, but the fluid kind of like goes in for the first, I don't know, like 70 frames or something, and then at frame, or like frame 170 maybe, and then at that point it stops and just kind of settles. I just figured that would be a nice way to make it, because if fluid just flows in for the entire duration, then it kind of feels like there's no ending. It just stops abruptly. But if the fluid stops, then it gets to like settle, and then it kind of feels like it comes to a conclusion. So I'm just doing a whole lot of test renders that are honestly probably pretty unnecessary. I'm not really sure what I was thinking. What am I doing now? Oh yeah, I wanted to kind of do like a bevel around the edge, and I wasn't quite sure how to do that, and it didn't end up happening. Yeah, because if you do a bevel, I was worried that it was gonna like all like fluid would like settle around the edges if I had a bevel. I didn't really want that. I wanted it to kind of like, you know, move on a mostly flat surface. And you can see me trying to figure out how to do it still right here, and eventually I'm just going to give up and probably hit undo like 50 times and then realize that I can't undo far enough, and then be like, well, now what am I going to do? I'm like halfway undone from like this thing that I want to completely get rid of, and it's just obnoxious. But anyways, I don't know, I guess I'm just moving on. So you can see I have the fluid baked as it's at a low resolution. You can change the resolution before you bake, and that's essentially just, I believe it splits the domain, the size of the domain, into a bunch of like little cubes essentially, and fluid just kind of occupies each of those cubes. And so the higher resolution, it can make a huge difference in how the final product looks. And so the fluid looks a lot better than that at the end. I think what you're looking at is a resolution of like 30, I want to say. And with the end, I ended up going with like 200. Maybe even 300. No, I think I went with 200 because I started with 300, and then like my computer crashed halfway through. And I was like, I just don't feel like waiting for this again. So I went with 200, just would go faster. Or maybe even 100. Really? That couldn't have been 100. I must change it by the end. And here I'm testing to see if like maybe I want to do like water or like a see-through fluid, because that would be a little bit more realistic, I guess. It's not about the realism, it's just about what looks cool. Okay. Here I'm just testing out different resolutions, seeing how much memory they take. You can see in the bottom right it says bake required memory 2.8 or 2.08 gigabytes. That's for 300. That would be a long simulation. And yeah, so I think I tried doing that and my computer crashed. I'm not really sure if it's because of this or if I was doing something. I think I was like doing other stuff, and so like trying to do all these complex calculations while I'm watching like a YouTube video or whatever, and I have like 6 Chrome tabs open, and just kind of got to the computer a little bit. But you can see there, the start of the simulation at 300 at least, it's a lot more like detailed. And at some point, in like about 30 seconds, the footage cuts, because I think that's when my computer crashed. I just stopped recording because I was like, I'm not just going to sit here while it records the entire bake, because it can take like multiple hours. Excuse me. And so here I'm just fiddling around with different stuff while I wait. Alright, so overall, I think it came out, like, you'll see when this finishes, the way that it ended up looking when I rendered it. I think it's okay. You'll see at the end, maybe I'll just talk about this at the end, it's a little, like, bad looking. Not really sure what we're even watching now. Yeah, probably should have cut the footage a little bit before this, but you know what? Here we are. We're watching this. Just enjoy it. Notice at the bottom it says fluid simulation 3%. This is 4 times sped up. Okay, yeah, that was the cut. No, here it is at the end. I think this is with a resolution of 200. It might be 300. I don't know. You can see at the end there, it gets a little bit like stuck at like the top part in the back corner. It doesn't look very good. Oh yeah, and I went with a blue. I tried out some different colors and I settled on a blue. Like a shiny blue color for it, or material, I should say. So basically everything in the scene is shiny. And here I am just rendering a scene. Oh yeah, and I added, you can have motion blur. I've never really used that before, and I just thought I'd put it on to make it feel a bit more like dynamic. I didn't want to overdo it though, and so I went with a like relatively small amount of motion blur, and you can like sort of tell in the final product, but when you're watching it at full speed, it's not especially noticeable. And I don't know, I'm just doing some calculations for some reason. I think I'm trying to decide on a final resolution for rendering it, Because if you're unfamiliar, when you actually like go and render something in Blender or other 3D software, doesn't really matter what it is, rendering can take a long freaking time, especially in animation. Each frame in this, there's 200 frames. Each frame took about like a minute to a minute 20 seconds, I want to say. It's going faster here because I have it set to a very low number of samples, but because there's so few samples, there's a lot of noise in the image. And there's a few techniques to like try to speed up render times and make things look a little bit nicer, and I don't know a lot of them, so we're just kind of stuck with this. But you know, it's not like I don't have the time to sit around waiting for these things, and so it just took like, you know, maybe 2.5, 3 hours, I don't know. And here's the final render. It's alright, it's still pretty noisy. I think it's cool, I don't know. And here it is again, slowed down by like 4 times, I think it is 25% speed. And so you can just kind of see, it's clear to see like the motion blur here. There's not much of it, but the back corner where the fluid is flowing in and it's like hitting the wall, that looks super cool. And all like the waves, the way it builds up, that looks cool. And then right here, it falls apart because the back corner, it's just really ugly looking. I'm not sure what to do about that, but anyways, that was it. So I hope you liked that.